So what we're talking about is fragmentation, basically. So if we have the same idea of having a platter here, and we have some file we would probably assume to be written along something like this, so just some sector in the hard drive and continuously written on some sector in the hard drive. It's not necessarily true, and you're not necessarily guaranteed that all of the data will be in one long continuous string on the hard drive. In fact, the computer will realize, okay, well, maybe I only have a third of the available space available here, like this. So this is 1/3 of my data, and then I have another third of it's available here, and then I have another third available here. It will actually fragment this file, so-called, into 3 different locations on the hard drive. And so you might have heard of this process called defragmentation, where the theory is that fragmentation will actually cause your computer to slow down a bit, because in order for it to find all of the pieces for one individual file, it will take it longer to jump from this location to this location to this location than it would if the entire file were located just in one continuous block on your computer. And that it certainly is true, especially with hard drives with spinning platters. It's not quite so much of a problem on SSD drives, but this is something that manufacturers have tried to battle by coming up with utilities called defragmentation utilities. And you might have run this on your Windows computer in the past, and basically what it does is it analyzes everything and will try to then make everything into a continuous block like it should be, and erase the previous blocks.
Defragmentation, which slows the overall performance of your computer. When files are fragmented, meaning they're all in pieces, your hard drive goes out to look for them in order to piece them back together, which really impacts your response time. So the first thing that we're going to take a look at for disk defragmentation for the Windows XP is we're going to analyze basically what is on your hard drive. So to do that, we're going to go to the lower left corner and we're going to left click on the Microsoft Start icon. We're going to left click on All Programs, and from All Programs we are going to go to the Accessories folder and left click, and from there we're going to go to Systems Tools and left click. From there we're going to go into the Disk Defragmenter and open that up. And the first thing we're going to do before we even defragment is we're going to click Analyze. And the reason why we click Analyze is because it could take quite a bit of time to defragment. So we're going to find out exactly what is on the system and how much time that's going to take. So we're going to go ahead and left click Analyze. And I have the C volume selected. And for this, you can go ahead and click. It'll come up with your report, and you can click on Report. And it will show you how many different fragments, how many different items are going on your computer. And the next step you can do is then go down to Defragment and left click. And what it will do, it will analyze, and it will go all the way through and defragment your computer. And at the same time, you can go ahead and minimize, and it will run in the background. Now it will impact the performance time on your computer, so you do want to make sure that you run this only at a time that the machine will be sitting fairly idle without a lot of demand. So that's how you disk defragment for a Windows XP machine.
To talk about defragmenting our hard drive. Over time, as you install and delete programs and files on your computer, the bits and pieces of data that is stored on your hard drive become fragmented and kind of spread out. And in the end, and the result of all that fragmentation is a slowdown of the machine's performance. One of the things that we could do is to reorganize all those bits and pieces of data through a program called Disk Defragmenter. To launch Disk Defragmenter on a Windows 7 machine, you'd click on Start, All Programs, Accessories, I want to scroll down, System Tools, and Disk Defragmenter. The Disk Defragmenter window will pop up. It'll tell you what the current schedule is. If you have it scheduled to run automatically, it can do that. To do that, we can click on Configure Schedule, and that'll allow you to select the frequency, whether it's daily, weekly, or monthly, what day of the week, If you selected monthly, you could select, what day of the month, the 15th day, the 30th day of the month. But going back to daily or weekly, the day of the week, the time of day, and which disks that you want to apply this action to. And that's how you would schedule the defragmenter to run on its own. Something to keep in mind, that when you run disk defragmenter, it can possibly take up a lot of your system's resources, which means that your machine's performance may not be optimum. And then, depending on how fragmented your machine is, it could take a considerable amount of time. I recommend running disk defragmenter maybe at the end of the day, or when you're getting ready to go on a break, or maybe even in the morning before you sit down to work at your workstation for an extended period of time. Run the defragmenter, knowing that you're not going to need your machine, and you can just let it do its thing until it's done. So getting back to our disk defragmenter window, you can see the schedule if you have a schedule, and you can see what the current status is of your hard drives. In this example, you can see that our C drive had the defragmenter run on this particular date and time, and what the percentage of fragmentation was. You can do one of two things. You can either analyze the disk to see how fragmented it is and make your decision whether or not you want to defragment it, or you could just go right to defragmentation of the disk. I think there are different schools of thought as to at what percentage you should defragment your machine. If you're noticing some slow-ups in performance, some slowdown in performance, I would recommend running the defragmenter regardless of what it says here for the amount of fragmentation. Just, if you get into a regular habit of it, doing it once a month is probably not a bad thing. If you're removing and adding a lot of programs, maybe doing it more often is better. So in this case, let's go ahead and click on defragment disk. The first thing that it'll do in that process is analyze the machine and determine how fragmented the machine, your hard drive is. Once that process is done, it'll then start to reorganize the bits and pieces of data that are spread around your hard drive.